Welcome to this corporate masterclass from Conroy Baker Ltd. Sponsoring an international workforce under the framework is no longer an exercise in simple administrative form filling. Following consecutive rounds of structural updates by the Home Office, immigration policy has transformed into a complex mechanism of financial structural mapping and continuous compliance risk. For multi-city corporate expansions spanning London, Birmingham and Manchester, treating global mobility as a reactive HR checklist is a costly operational mistake. A clear shift has occurred in how the UK handles corporate immigration. The Home Office no longer merely checks boxes. Case officers actively evaluate corporate structures and probe the economic reality of individual hires to protect local labour markets. To preserve your regional talent pipelines, senior HR leaders and chief executives must bypass generic immigration advice. True operational safety requires building a highly resilient compliance infrastructure capable of defending your organisation against intense enforcement scrutiny. In this video, we break down the exact technical, geographic and financial parameters your business must navigate to deploy volume teams cleanly under current rules. Let us start with the strict threshold metrics now in place. Financial floor for sponsoring overseas talent has been elevated significantly. Under current rules, the statutory baseline general minimum salary threshold stands at exactly £41,700 per annum. This structural floor operates in tandem with a mandatory hourly minimum rate of £17.13. Understanding these headline figures is just the entry-level layer of international workforce planning. For a visa approval to be secured, your company must guarantee that the sponsored worker's salary clears either this general threshold or 100% of the specific Standard Occupational Classification or SOC code's updated market going rate, whichever is higher. This means the £41,700 figure is just a baseline. If the market going rate for a senior systems architect or engineering manager is £50,000, your payroll must match that higher threshold exactly. Attempting to use compressed hour structures to artificially deflate your overall annual salary outlay is a direct violation of statutory rules and will halt your applications immediately. Alongside these rigid financial rules, sponsorship is legally restricted to positions that meet or exceed the Regulated Qualifications Framework Level 6 standard. This benchmark represents graduate-level roles, including software development professionals, structural engineers, and senior corporate management functions. The Home Office uses this elevated skill threshold to prevent lower-skilled labour from accessing the pathway. Because of this, case officers look past formal, internal job titles to evaluate the actual day-to-day operational duties. Assigning a generic or inflated job title to a role that does not match its true operational requirements triggers immediate application rejections or formal audit processes. Your company's operational hierarchy must clearly reflect genuine high-level business functions. These regulations take on distinct local characteristics depending on your chosen UK expansion geography. Deploying large engineering or tech teams into London requires deep capital budgeting. While the national statutory minimum is £41,700, the actual market-going rates across London's competitive financial and technological sectors sit much higher. To recruit in the capital, firms must match local market benchmarks to secure talent, which pushes salaries well above the baseline. For London hiring, the primary challenge is properly mapping specific SOC codes against highly inflated regional compensation curves to avoid sudden application processing freezes. Expanding operations into Birmingham's engineering corridor or Manchester's high-growth digital hubs offers distinct financial advantages. In these markets, competitive local hiring salaries align more closely with standard national SOC code benchmarks. This allows expanding international firms to utilise their certificate of sponsorship allocations more efficiently. However, companies must avoid falling into a common geographic salary trap. Even if local market hiring costs in the Midlands or North West sit lower than those in London, the absolute minimum baseline of £41,700 remains fixed across the entire country. Regional payroll models must be adjusted upward to meet this national floor, regardless of local cost of living variances. Furthermore, hybrid working patterns bring additional complexity. If an international team member splits their working week between a central corporate office in London and a remote residential setup in Manchester, both locations must be formally declared and managed through your immigration profiles. The Digital Sponsor Management System, or SMS, governs all global mobility activities. Securing and assigning The Digital Sponsor Management System, or SMS, governs all global mobility activities. Securing and assigning a certificate of sponsorship requires active planning rather than reactive data entry. Firms must understand the operational dividing lines between defined and undefined certificates to avoid long recruitment delays. Defined certificates are required for candidates applying from outside the UK and must be requested individually on a case-by-case basis. Undefined certificates apply to in-country candidates, such as individuals switching from graduate pathways or moving from competing domestic firms. These are allocated as an annual block batch to the company during the regular spring renewal cycle. A sudden, unexpected talent crunch often occurs when companies run out of undefined allocations mid-year. If your hiring spikes unexpectedly, you will face the slow process of applying for an in-year allocation increase. Without premium processing or professional oversight to manage the Home Office interface, waiting for additional allocations can stall urgent hires and disrupt your broader business timelines. Holding a sponsor license is a strict, ongoing legal obligation. United Kingdom visas and immigration compliance officers routinely conduct unannounced on-site inspections at corporate headquarters and regional offices. These visits are designed to test your real-world HR practices against your recorded immigration data. Sponsors often run into compliance issues by failing to track hybrid working patterns accurately. If sponsored staff work remotely without their home addresses being logged on the SMS, the business risks receiving severe penalties. Any structural adjustments, including change of home address, variations in core salary, or changes in physical office locations, must be logged on the system within 10 working days. A failure to update employee records within this tight timeline can lead to an immediate suspension or a permanent revocation of your sponsor license. During these site inspections, the Home Office looks closely at whether sponsored positions represent real, essential vacancies within your business structure. Case officers look past formal job titles to check if the role's day-to-day duties genuinely match the chosen graduate-level SOC code. They look at your trading infrastructure to verify if the business actively requires a specialized role of this caliber. They review whether the salary aligns naturally with the company's wider organizational payroll, and they analyze the recruitment logic that led you to select this specific international candidate. Artificially inflating a job description to meet the mandatory RQF Level 6 threshold or the £41,700 salary floor is a serious breach of rules. If a case officer decides a vacancy has been fabricated or exaggerated simply to bypass immigration controls, the visa will be rejected immediately and your company's entire sponsor license will face suspension. Partnering with Experienced ensures your contracts, internal processes, and data mapping are fully audit-ready before a compliance officer arrives at your desk. Managing a high-volume corporate sponsorship program reveals a clear pattern. Most immigration roadblocks are caused by internal communication gaps between talent acquisition teams and corporate finance departments. Sponsoring large teams requires a major upfront capital investment, meaning your recruitment timelines must align directly with your financial planning cycles to account for upfront home office fees and skills charges. To protect your business from these operational risks, your organization should implement regular, independent mock audits. Setting up internal compliance checks before official inspectors arrive allows you to spot and fix tracking gaps, update missing employee records, and confirm your salary allocations are correct. For complex expansions across multiple regional hubs, working with a dedicated UK business immigration advisor provides the continuous oversight needed to keep your growth plans on track. This brings us to your next tactical step. Don't let shifting salary thresholds and unannounced compliance checks halt your corporate growth. Click the link in the description below to access our full 2026 Strategic Volume Deployment Guide. Complete our brief operational form, and our senior specialists will review your current global mobility framework to build a resilient, risk-insulated hiring strategy for your UK operation. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the Conroy Baker Ltd channel, and turn on notifications for continuous practitioner-led compliance insights.